What's going on, YouTube? It is Will here, back again once again for yet another episode of the Gridiron Talk podcast. Here again with my boy Shane, as always. And what a great week of football. These playoffs have just been astonishing, excellent, and they have just been really fun to watch all around the board. As always, as I said, I'm with my boy Shane Ryder here. And Shane, how have you been, man?
Been pretty good, We got our on the last episode I mentioned my clothing brand. I have dropped some stuff. So if you guys would like the link to that, I'll send it to Will and he can do his magic on his laptop and put in the description. But yeah, we're doing pretty good. Got a lot of American National Combines we're going to in a couple months, so that's exciting. But besides that, how have you been, Will?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been really good. I'm back at Buffalo. I know I was in Syracuse. So I'm back here and just getting ready to go watch the Super Bowl, go watch these games this weekend. All of the good stuff. Obviously recording this, working on this. It's almost over, which I can't believe this season's almost over. It makes me sad, low key. But let's get into it like we did last week, Shane. Talking about the teams that lost and discussing their future. I know, actually, for people who don't know, obviously they wouldn't know, but this is actually mine and Shane's second recording. My laptop literally just said "fuck you" and it just fucking restarted. That's literally what my laptop said. So this is our second recording. So hopefully nothing bad happens here. But let's get right into it. So with the first game last weekend was the Jaguars and the Chiefs, and the Jaguars kept it close, Shane. They really did. And my question for you is, do you think the Jaguars have a chance to make the AFC title game in the future, or will they always be in the shadow of the Bengals, the Bills, the Chiefs, the really elite AFC teams?
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think you'll see them there as much as, obviously the Bengals or definitely the Chiefs. They've made 5 straight. So, I mean, for them and, I'll consider the Bills a part of this too. I think for them and the Bills, which we'll talk about them in a little bit, but they just need to fix a couple small things that's just kind of shooting themselves in the foot. To just improve on the field. A lot of discipline issues in the on the field with handling the ball that Jacksonville did, and if they didn't have those 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter, I believe they had 2. Excuse me. Then we could be sitting here talking about the Jaguars versus the Bengals and not the Chiefs. So it's definitely interesting to see what they have to do in the future to get to that game.
Yeah, no, I agree. The Bengals, not the Bengals, I apologize. The Jaguars shot themselves in the foot a lot. They had 2, like you said, 2 fourth quarter turnovers, a fumble and an interception. But their future does look bright. I really feel like they will be dominating their division for at least the next couple of years. And that is something good to see, as they picked the number 1 back-to-back, and they picked 1 back-to-back, and now they made the playoffs, won the division. So their future is really bright, and what a turnaround by this team. So continuing on with the subject, the teams that lost, the Giants and the Eagles. The Giants got blown out, unfortunately, but all in all, it was a very successful season for the G-Men. They were not projected to make the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. So my question for you, Shane, and I feel like I'm going to know your answer. Where does the Giants' future lie? Do you think they will continue to be a contender? What should they do in the offseason? What do you think the Giants should do in the offseason to continue this newfound success?
Well, I definitely think they're going to be a contender if and only if they their first priorities are signed Saquon Barkley and then Daniel Jones. They might have to reconstruct their contracts a little bit, especially if they don't pick a wide receiver out of the draft. They may have to get one in free agency, but none of that's going to matter if you don't have Saquon and Daniel Jones. As you mentioned it multiple times this year, that was pretty much their offense, both running and passing the ball, unfortunately. So obviously signing your 2 best players on the team is obviously going to have to be priority number 1 before you even think about, free agency and then, getting draft picks. I think they're at 25, 26, 20 something, somewhere around there. But either way, you gotta sign your 2 big stars first before you do anything.
I agree, and the future looks bright for the Giants, for a team that has been struggling for years and years. And they win a playoff game. They win 10 total games. It was a very successful season despite the disappointing end. And you really the future looks bright for both New York teams. The Jets too. They look like they have a bright future, which is something good to see. To see these new teams become successful. So continuing on to Sunday, the two games that happened on Sunday. The Bills lost. They lost to the Bengals 27-20. So, what are your what happened with the Bills? Because I know you think they were overrated, but that's besides the point. Most people thought the Bills were a Super Bowl contender. They would at least make the AFC title game, and that never happened. So, what do you think was the Bills' issue this year? Why did they come up short again?
I just think it's their inconsistency to stay at that top level. We've seen it multiple times this year. And I made the reference before, and I'll say it again because I think I 100% think it's going to happen. I view the Bills kind of how the Chargers were when they had Phillip Rivers, and they had Brady. They had Brady in the AFC, Brady in the AFC, and then Peyton in the AFC, and then obviously Phillip Rivers.
Big Ben too, the Steelers.
Yeah, Big Ben too. You kind of see Phillip Rivers get lost in the dust with those three, next to those three. And you kind of see it with Josh Allen starting to being behind the shadows of Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. Because they're the two. Obviously, I mentioned it earlier, Patrick Mahomes, he's been the 5 straight AFC title games. Burrow's been in 2 out of 3 years he's been in, and the 1 year he didn't, he got hurt. So it's kind of it's starting to makes sense to me that Josh is a really great quarterback, but he's not a winning quarterback. And people will look at me when I say that and what do you mean? He wins all the time. He may win in the regular season, but that doesn't matter if you don't win in the postseason. So Will's mentioned this multiple times. He'd rather have a quarterback win games than put up stats, and I agree 100% with him.
Yeah, slightly. I'd rather have a slightly worse quarterback, like I said, I'd rather have a slightly worse quarterback and wins than one that is statistically better but doesn't win the big games. So let's go on to the last game between the Cowboys and the 49ers. And this was definitely the closest game of all of divisional round weekend. Also the biggest game of the most defensive game, the closest game. So, the Niners won. They have the Cowboys number as of late, it seems like. So the Cowboys have a lot of questions to answer, Mike McCarthy's future, offensive coordinator Kellen Moore's future. Don't even get me started on that last play call. I'm pretty sure I talked to you about that, Shane. I just couldn't believe it. There is no words to say. I've never seen that.
They thought Shane was out there blocking at center, not Ezekiel Elliott.
No, literally. Here's a play call, Zeke. You're going to snap the ball and you're going to get destroyed by a defensive lineman or a linebacker. It's what? But all jokes aside, the Cowboys' future, they got a lot of questions to answer, and I feel like this is different than most Dallas Cowboys off seasons. Most of the time they blame the coaching, which at times was true. Jason Garrett, the coaching was the issue for a long time. They were to blame the sometimes the officials, like always, but it was never really the fact of the players. The Cowboys have always had a good roster, but the coaching's held them back. But this year, it seems different because there's always that one man this year who has the big question mark, and that's Dak Prescott. So my question for you, Shane, on this last debate is, did we see Dak Prescott play his last game as a Dallas Cowboy or no?
I honestly don't think so, and that's just because of his contract. They were very high on him when they first got him from the draft, I believe in 2016, 2017. His contract is very, very pricey, and we've mentioned it before. When you have quarterbacks that are like that and they're playing the way Dak's been playing, not a lot of teams are going to want to trade to get that quarterback because they have to pay those prices. So it's hard. It's hard to tell this early. I do think they might need to think about, Mike McCarthy and, might put him on the hot seat a little bit because he's performed 2 great offseason, 2 great regular seasons, and then just failed in the playoffs the past 2 years very, very, very badly. In both close games. I know this ending was very bad, but last year, they didn't spike the ball in time, and they can blame the officials on that, whatever. But you can only blame other people for your failures for so long. So, and the Cowboys have the offense and defense to be a very contending team for the Super Bowl. They got to execute. They just got to execute. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the offseason.
Yeah, and my last question for you about the Dallas Cowboys is, in our lifetime, Shane, the Dallas Cowboys have always built around their offense. Do you think going on with the future with the Dallas Cowboys, this team will be more known for their defense or no?
I definitely think they'll be known for their defense, just because it's so not even explosive, but so protected in a way. They got a lot of great young talent on that defense. And they got a defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. Obviously, he coached for the Falcons, and he has a very good defensive scheme. So as long as he stays there, I think they'll be known for their defense for at least the next couple of years.
All right, right on. So let's go into the games this weekend. Excuse me, between the Eagles and the Niners and the Bengals and the Chiefs. Let's start with the NFC title game first, as that one is first in the time slot. So like I said, we got the Eagles and the Niners. These two teams have been the two best teams in the NFC for most of the year, and there's really no surprise that these two teams are meeting off in the NFC title game. So one question about Brock Purdy that has a lot of people not worried or questioning his ability is that when the Niners have on this little run, they really haven't played an elite defense. They really have not. And they did that last week when they played the Dallas Cowboys. So my question for you, Shane, is, do you think Brock Purdy is going to play like he did last week, play very pedestrian-like, very not really shoot the lights out, just like I said, very pedestrian because he's going against another great defense? Or do you think that, playing a good defense will basically give him confidence to play well against this defense?
In my opinion, I think Brock Purdy just needs to play well enough and let everybody else not let everybody else do the work, but look who he has on offense. He's got, he's got Kittle, he's got Debo, he's got Chris McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk. That's just the offense. And then obviously the 49ers defense is the top defense in the NFL. Like, there's no question about it. So if he just stays disciplined, does his job correctly, make the smart decisions, I honestly don't think he'll have a bad game. And as long as his defense holds up, I can see them winning. Not winning easily, but I can see them winning this game with no issues with Brock Purdy or with the team in general.
I agree. He is the question mark that it's in his hands. It really is. This is a great team, and it's kind of hard to screw up with this team. But the ball is in his court. So, but the Eagles, both of these teams have some of the best rosters in football. You talk about the Niners offense. Let's talk about the Eagles. So, we got Jalen Hurts, who was going to be the MVP before he got hurt. Miles Sanders, Pro Bowl running back. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, arguably the two best receiving duo in the NFL. It's up there. They got a great tight end in Dallas Goedert. They got a great two Hall of Famers on the offensive line, Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson. So, this team is also stacked. So, if the Eagles want to pull off this win and advance to their first Super Bowl in 6 years, what do they need to do against this top-ranked defense?
They need to do what Jalen Hurts has done all year. They need to honestly rely on that offense. I talked high about their defense. They got a lot of players that they can rotate in that's very consistent with the starters that are really good. But I think the biggest thing is do what you've been doing all year with Jalen Hurts, make the right decisions. And either way, it's going to come down to this. This is going to be one of those games where every play matters, especially in the second half. Just because these two are like the most even teams out of the NFC, overall, defensively, offensively, special teams wise. Even they're the players at each position. It's going to be a very interesting game. And I honestly think the Eagles need to put their best offensive performance on during this game in order to win this game against the 49ers defense.
Yeah, Shane, I agree. And, like you've said before, even though I might say that defense no longer wins championships, you are a firm believer that it still does. And if that's the case, then the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl because they do have the number one ranked defense. And they're going to have a tough test because I believe the Eagles have the number one scoring offense. Don't quote me on that. Maybe that's only with NFC teams, but I know the Eagles have a very good offense, obviously. So, with more of the matchup, let's talk about the Eagles defense. I know I didn't really talk about that. I just kind of briefly talked about Brock Purdy and him in the offense.
They have the second. Philadelphia has the second most scoring behind Kansas City. They have 28.6, and Kansas City has 29.1 points per game.
So they got the second best offense versus the best defense. So, that's another interesting thing to watch. But, the Eagles defense, they're no slouches. I know I didn't really talk about them, but they got Hassan Reddick, who is a beast. He's a sack monster who his career really got a revival after moving to pass rusher. He's been in the league for a while, but now he's just recently breaking out. Darius Slay, potentially a Hall of Fame corner. Excellent. CJ Gardner-Johnson, a great safety. Fletcher Cox, a Hall of Fame defensive tackle. Jordan Davis, a rookie. Brandon Graham, Javon Hargrave, TJ Edwards, linebacker. So this team is stacked. And the Eagles also have the best secondary in the NFL statistically. Number one ranked pass defense. So that's another thing to watch. That's another thing to take care of. The Niners aren't really a pass-heavy team. But if they go in the hole, they're going to have to be. And then that's what makes the Eagles so tough to beat. Their secondary is just so good. So, Shane, do you have anything else you want to add between these two powerhouses meeting up in the NFC title game?
No, but I do think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be very high scoring. I honestly think it's going to the total points combined with both teams. I don't think it's going to be any more than 45. Not something crazy, but also not something very low scoring like how the Niners and Cowboys game was. But like you said, Philadelphia's defense, they're the sixth overall scoring defense. They're sixth best and least amount of points allowed each game. And then obviously San Francisco, obviously number one. But I'm honestly going with San Francisco in this one. I think they're going to beat them 23-21. And I think that defense is going to hold up that fourth quarter, and they're just gonna dominate.
I agree.
From a mental standpoint, you gotta think that defense is very scary, and I think that's what's going to help them win.
I agree too. I think the San Francisco's going to win too. I think it'll be a great game, potentially a game of the year. It'll be fun to watch. Like you said, the Niners defense is very intimidating. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Jimmy Ward, Javarius Ward, Eric Armstead, Dre Greenlaw. This team is just stacked too. And like you said, the offense is stacked for both teams. Both of these teams arguably have the best rosters in football. So let's see. I think the Niners are going to win too. I think they're going to win 23-20 on a game-winning field goal by Robbie Gould, who's never ever missed in the postseason. He is good as gold. No pun intended there. But that's the first half. That's the first game of Championship Sunday. That's going to be at 3:00. So Shane, leads into the AFC title game at around 6:30.
So onto the AFC title game, which personally I think this one is the more amped up and more like must watch, must see, just because of the history of these teams. We have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Kansas City, they're hosting the AFC Championship game for an NFL record 5th consecutive season. Last year, the Bengals defeated the Chiefs, and the Bengals have also beat the Chiefs 3 straight times. The last time they've played them. So obviously the Chiefs beat Jacksonville to advance to this game. But Patrick Mahomes suffered a high right ankle sprain. He continued the game. This whole week he said his ankle's been feeling fine, and he's running around in practice. So he looks like he's going to be close to 100% to go. As for the Bengals, they pretty much dominated the Bills on the road. And the Bengals are, outside of the 49ers, probably the hottest team in the NFL right now. They're on a 10-game winning streak going back into the regular season. But the Bengals have questions as well. The biggest one is their O-line. I believe they have 3 backups starting in this game. Don't quote me on that, but they're very confident going against the Chiefs. So my question here for you, Will, it's very simple. It's very straightforward. Do you think the Chiefs can beat the burden that is the Bengals and finally beat the Bengals, and then obviously go on to make the Super Bowl?
No, that's a good question. And, if first of all, let me just say, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is healthy. I'm not a doctor, but, most people, know that an ankle sprain, a high grade ankle sprain, which he does have, it's been officially diagnosed, does not heal in a week. It wouldn't even heal by the Super Bowl. Like he would be, much better by the Super Bowl, but he is 100. I can guarantee you, he is not 100%. Ankle sprains hurt. They actually, I believe, don't quote me on this. I think they take longer to heal than breaks. Or they're more painful. One of the two.
They're more painful in the first early stages, but they're not, because I've had a high ankle sprain. But they do take a while. But depending on how bad the sprain is, depends on how the longevity is. Which they haven't released. Obviously, a high ankle sprain, but they haven't released how bad the ankle sprain really was. So it really depends on how badly he sprained it. And if he was limping around on it like he was in the game, it's not too bad because trust me, them shits hurt. So,
Right.
But no, sorry to cut you off, Will.
No, so regardless, like if he was healthy, I would say yes. I think the Chiefs. This is the time to beat the Bengals. But he's not healthy, and you can't convince me that he is healthy because he isn't. And Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback right now, and we all know that. But he's not playing at the level that he should be playing at, and this is what's going to make the Bengals get this win, in my opinion. This is going to be a close game. The Bengals are hot. They've won. What, like at least 10 in a row, maybe 11? Like they're just on a streak.
10 straight games.
Yeah, so like you said, like they're the second hottest team in football behind San Francisco. They got this moxie, they got this swagger, and they're not going to lose. I know, playing an Arrowhead is tough. I'm aware of that. Playing an Arrowhead is no easy task for anybody. It's not an easy place to play. It's hard. It's loud. It's probably the hardest places to play in football. But, regardless, like everything aside from that, like the Bengals beat the Chiefs this year. I know it was in Cincinnati, but they beat them. The Bengals beat them last year in Arrowhead. Joe Burrow twice, or maybe not twice, but they did beat the Chiefs twice last year. So Joe Burrow has Patrick Mahomes' number, and I think that will continue on to this game. But what are your thoughts?
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I just don't see Patrick Mahomes losing to the same team 4 straight times in a row. Like whether he's fully healthy or not, I just don't see it. And I don't see Andy Reid doing the same thing either. And we can't forget how great of a coach Andy Reid really is. I think he's like the only quarterback, the only coach to coach 2 different teams, to get at least I think it's 10 playoff wins with 2 different teams. That's just crazy to think about. He used to be the Eagles head coach in the early 2000s, early to mid 2000s. And there's a reason why they've hosted the AFC title game 5 straight years in a row. Like Patrick Mahomes, the way he runs his offense and his team, and his defense is a lot better than it has been the last previous years. And I think that's going to be the main difference in this game. So I can see I'm taking the Chiefs in this one. Very close. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be 30-27 Chiefs on a game-winning drive by Patrick Mahomes.
You're more excited about this game, you said, than the other game?
Yes, 100%. Just because it's the unknown. And I'm not saying like we know who's going to win the NFC title game, but it just has more drama to it. Joe Shiesty going in and just, excuse my language, beating the shit out of Josh Allen and the Bills. And then obviously his record against Patrick Mahomes is crazy. So it just adds up to the playoffs, the adrenaline rush, and all the players. It's going to be, in my opinion, I think this is probably going to be the most watched game of the year prior to the Super Bowl.
All right, I got one question for you, Shane, before I get my prediction. Do you think if the Chiefs lose that Patrick Mahomes' legacy takes a hit or no?
No, his legacy, you can't. The way he's been going, you can't really take a hit. Now, if we fast forward a year from now and he loses to Burrow again, say we're in the similar situation, then yes, I would say it would. But I just don't see Patrick Mahomes. Like Patrick Mahomes has been in the league 6 years now. 5 of the 6 he's made it to AFC title game. 2 of them he's made it to the Super Bowl. it's just I don't think he can really take a major hit on his legacy if he loses the Burrow. More people are realizing that Joe Burrow is probably top 2, and some are saying he ain't number 2. So, I don't know. I don't think he can really take a hit on that. I mean, Peyton Manning was a great quarterback with all those years against Tom Brady, and he never really beat Brady that much. So it's kind of one of those things, But I don't think it really ruins his legacy if he loses.
Right, like Brady won like a lot more times against Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning is still considered to be like the second best quarterback of all time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And lastly, like what you just said, like some people think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league. I think if you think that Josh Allen's better than Joe Burrow, then you're just crazy, because Joe Burrow has proved in and out that he is better than Josh Allen. He can win the games. Josh Allen might have a better arm, but I'm still taking Joe Burrow. And the fact that some people going into the season thought Justin Herbert was better than Joe Burrow is just crazy to me. That's just crazy to me. Like Joe Burrow is.
I'm not even going to comment what I was going to say. That's just.
I think Joe Burrow is one of the most disrespected quarterbacks in the league.
I wouldn't say he's disrespected. I just think he was overlooked for so long just because of, like, they thought last year was a fluke, and now they're starting to realize, like, oh, he's the real deal. Like, think about it like this. I don't know what, because it was wicked long ago. I don't know what Joe Burrow's record was in his rookie year before he got hurt. But he's made every year he's played a full season, he's made it to AFC title game. Like, the only other quarterback that's done that is Patrick Mahomes, pretty much. Like, up until now, obviously. Obviously, that's 5 straight years compared to 2. But, like these are definitely the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. And if anybody says otherwise, I don't consider them an NFL fan, or I don't take their NFL topics or predictions seriously at all. Because you can't convince me otherwise that Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes are not the top 2. You just can't. Like, there's nothing you can say that can convince me otherwise.
And that concludes. Wait. Let me get my prediction. So my prediction is I have to disagree with you, Shane. I think this is going to be a great game. But, Joe Burrow is him. I love Joe Burrow. He's just a beast. And it's so good to see him, turn around this franchise, because, Shane, this franchise has been terrible most of our lives, the Bengals. And that's just awesome to see. Like, if the Bengals win the Super Bowl over the San Francisco, I'm rooting for San Francisco because my dad, Shane, that's your guy right there, my dad.
Yeah.
The Damn It G. Remember Damn It G?
Yeah, Damn It G.
Wait, real quick. Tell everyone what the Damn It G means.
So, Will's dad is a 49ers fan.
He's been a fan since like the 80s. Like he's a pretty, he's not like a recent fan, but yes.
But the way he reacts to the players playing is just very hilarious. And he said "Damn it, G" one time, and it just made me almost cry. And then last time I was over at Will's house was when they were facing it was the Niners versus the Cardinals, and JJ watched the last game, I believe.
Yep.
And he was like, "Well, what did he say, Will, about one of his linemen?" He's like, that's a big dude, or something like that.
No. He said it was about like two offensive linemen for the Cardinals. I think their center and their left guard or something. They're 2 guards. And he was like, "Yeah, every time we play the Cardinals, we have to watch out for those 2." And I was like, "Dad, no, you don't. Like, these are just 2 random guards." He was like, "Hernandez and Garcia, look what they do to us. They're just destroying us." I was like, "Dad," and he only said that because their jerseys just happened to be on the screen for about 2 seconds.
Yeah, because I think they were like blocking Bosa or something like that. I can't remember, but it was. You should have seen the face Will was making towards me. He was trying to understand why I was almost dying in his living room floor.
He literally just turned around and walked away because Sharon was about to start laughing.
I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it.
But anyway, I think the Bengals are going to win this game. Give me a score of 30-27. I think it'll be a great game. But Joe Burrow wins again and advances to his 2nd straight Super Bowl and cements himself in only his 3rd year. Yeah. Only his 3rd year as the best quarterback in Cincinnati Bengals history. But that concludes this episode of the Gridiron Talk podcast with the Conference Championship week. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching us. And I'm pretty sad that it's almost over, though, Shane. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be it's very kind of emotional. This was a fun year. Had a great time doing this, and there's only going to be like one more, maybe two more episodes. With the Super Bowl, and maybe we do something else. But regardless, do you have anything else you want to add?
No. It's been fun, and I can't wait to watch. Like I said, can't wait to watch the Bengals versus the Chiefs, man. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and also tell everyone about your merch. You didn't really get into that a lot.
All right. Okay. So I am. So I have Primetime Apparel. It's off of the Dope Apparel website. I'm gonna send Will the link so he can put it in the description on YouTube. So make sure you guys check that out. It's Primetime Apparel, and if you use code BULL with the capital B, BULL22, you get 10% off. You also, if you put in your email prior to making the order, you save like another $5 for your first order on the website. Because it's not my website, it's a company's clothing brand's company's website that my apparel is on with my logo. And I do make commission off of the orders. I believe I've had like 15 or 20 orders already, and I may be having a ton more. One of my Navy friends, his chief commanding officer, whatever his title is going to put in an order for like 50, 60 items. So it's definitely going to be growing soon. So just give it time. But yeah, definitely check that out.
Yeah. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been a great year, and we'll be back. If we might make an episode next week about the awards and stuff. I know I did that my first year, but we may not. Just stay tuned. It'll be on Friday or Saturday. Not that it really matters. I don't really want to talk about the Pro Bowl because no one likes that. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. But we will for sure be back for the Super Bowl. Whether that's the Saturday before, the day right before the Super Bowl, the Friday before the Super Bowl. We will talk about the Super Bowl, and that will be the season finale. Unless we have like one more episode after that. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in this year. Really does mean a lot to me and Shane. I know we've said it week in and week out, but we really do work hard on this. It really just means a lot to us that you guys take the time out of your day to listen to this and like and share and subscribe and comment. So I can't really express any more. Stay tuned for it next year, as we'll most likely continue this on to next year. But yeah, stay tuned for the Super Bowl episode. Again, like, comment, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Check out Shane's merch. Use the promo code. Shane's a great guy. He works hard on this to achieve his dreams, and he's been wanting merch for a long time. So, kudos to you, Shane, for making it a reality. And again, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for next episode, guys. Thanks so much.